I didn't realize this at the time, but raising my autistic son was changing me. And not in some dramatic way, and not in a way that you'll notice every day, but slowly, quietly. When people think of autism, they think about the big things, the diagnosis, the labels, the challenges. But what they don't see is the detail, the constant awareness, the way you have to watch everything. And not in a controlling way, but in that I can't ever switch off kind of way. You notice patterns, triggers, small shifts and changes in behavior. Things that most people don't ever need to think about. Or ever do think about. And at first, it's exhausting. Really exhausting. Because you're effectively learning a new way of living. But over time, something starts to happen. And you don't notice it straight away. You start to slow down. You stop reacting to everything. You start to think before you react. And weirdly, things that used to frustrate you don't hit the same anymore. And this isn't because life got easier. It didn't. But you've changed. So I realized this recently, not in like a big moment. It just was like a normal thinking process, a normal time of reflection. Something happened recently, something that normally would have stressed me out a lot, would have made me panic, would have made me think about it for days. And at the time, I remember thinking, why isn't this stressing me out? Why doesn't it feel the same? Why am I not reacting the way I normally would? And then it hit me. I've been training for this without even realizing. Because when you're raising a child like this, a child with additional needs, you develop things that you didn't actually choose to develop. Skills that you didn't even know that you developed. And it's not theory, it's moments. There are times when everything could escalate in seconds. Something small happens and you know if you react the wrong way, it's going to make it worse. So you pause, you hold it in, you try and stay calm, and you do stay calm even though you don't feel calm. And you do this again and again and again until one day it becomes your default. And this isn't because you were trying to be that person. It's more likely that you had to become that person. And so when life gets at you, you've been training for this moment. You just haven't seen how far you've come. But there is another side to this. Because when you're always on, you're also carrying something too. There's always a weight that sits with you quietly, but it doesn't always show. Even now, when I drop my kids off to school every morning, 5 days a week, I'll say a prayer on both of them. And then after dropping them off, when I get to my car, I'll sit there for a few minutes and I'll make another prayer, just asking Allah to keep them safe, to bring them home to me safely, to make sure nothing bad happens. My son doesn't just decide to run away, escape. And I do that every day. And there's always that thought in the back of your head, just sitting in the background. What happens when I'm no longer there? I don't always try and sit in that thought for too long. It's a heavy thought, and sitting in it every day is just not ideal. But it's always there. And if you're in this position, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The thought's always there. But maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's why you've changed. Maybe that's why you've become more aware, more present. You start valuing things differently. Problems that used to feel big don't feel big anymore. Because you've dealt with things that most people never had to. And not just dealt with them, gone into detail. Observed from every angle, the small picture, the big picture, the detail. Because you've had to. And the thing is, no one actually tells you this. No one actually says this is going to change you too. But it does. Slowly and over time, it does. And it shows in the way you think, in the way you react, in the way you carry yourself. And it's not just strength. Yes, you do become stronger, but you also carry more. You feel more responsible. You think further ahead. You worry about things that people don't normally consider. Sometimes you worry about everything, and that stays with you. But at the same time, there's something else too. You become more understanding, more patient with people, because you've seen a different side of life. You're not just seeing an interaction that may have gone bad or gone wrong. You're seeing a bigger picture. You're analyzing and predicting things that may have happened or will happen. You've learned that not everything is visible, and you've learned to interpret the invisible. So when I look back now, I realized that this wasn't just about raising my son. It was also shaping me in ways I didn't choose, in ways I didn't even notice, but in ways I would never change. Because that's now part of who I am. And if you're raising a child like this, you're most likely changing too. You're becoming who you were meant to become. And maybe, just maybe, we don't give ourselves enough credit for that. And I don't mean that for everything that we do, but for the person that we've become or we're becoming. And that's going to do it for today, guys. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do hit the like button, do subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Until next time, take care.